Sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you can't be fucked. Maybe you spent a few late nights working hard to try and hit that deadline at work. Maybe you've got young kids that are keeping you up. Maybe you've got lots of stress in your life. Something is just kind of making you get broken sleep, not very much sleep at all, and therefore you're waking up in the morning tired as fuck. And now you can't be asked to train, but you know you should. So you rock up to the gym. You've got bags under your eyes, and you sit down to go through a workout, and you just feel that sense of tiredness. So the question is, in that situation, should you opt for lighter weights rather than heavier weights to compensate for the fact that you haven't got as much get up and go, as much energy? Is that the right approach? Or should you stick to your routine as normal, or maybe do something completely different? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode of the podcast. So before we get cracking, as usual, make sure that you leave a rating and a review on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you listen on, plus like and subscribe to the channel as well. And don't miss out, click the link in the show notes below to grab some free shit or to find out more about my free online one-to-one coaching program. But first, let's talk about training with lighter weights when you're tired. Is that a thing? Now, my first thing for you would be go back to bed. There would be a massive case for just having some rest. If you are running yourself into the floor, burning the candle at both ends all the time, then maybe you just need a little bit more rest. And opting to skip the gym for 1 or 2 days just to kind of recuperate, get yourself back into the rhythm of things might be the better option for you, rather than get so tired you fall asleep on the bench press and you kind of have a bar caving in your face. That might not be the best way to approach your fitness goals. Now, obviously, there might be a situation where you maybe are just having to work around this and you can't afford 6 months out of the gym because of tiredness, because it's something that for now you just can't get around. You've got to find a way of compensating. Now, that might be a situation that a lot of people are in, and I get that. So if you're in that situation, then we kind of don't necessarily have to think about light and heavy weights, because again, it's about setting the expectation of the workout. Now, let's have a look at this in a little bit of a different sort of a way, because whether you go light or heavy, if you're training to the same intensity, i.e. the closer you get to failure, that point at which you can no longer do one rep, is that if you get to that same point, either with a lightweight or a heavier weight, it doesn't really matter. What's happening there is that when you use the theory being is that when you use a heavier weight, your body is recruiting more muscle fibers straight away to lift that weight. Then as it creeps ever closer to that point of concentric failure, all of the fucking muscle fibers get involved and then start to contribute to lifting that particular weight. That's why you generally do less reps and still get muscle. If you then pick lighter weight, then all of those muscle fibers or less of those muscle fibers get involved from the beginning. But as you creep closer towards that point of failure, then all of those muscle fibers start getting recruited. So that's why lighter weights, more reps is kind of like the same benefit as lower reps and higher weights. It kind of gives you the same sort of effect. So if in your tired state, you are still pushing the same level of intensity, then it doesn't really matter whether you pick lighter weights or heavier weights. Just do whatever feels best in that situation. If you feel that doing more reps and with lighter weights is going to be better for you, or you're going to be able to kind of mentally do that, because it might be a case of, okay, lifting heavy is actually going to be quite difficult for you, maybe more mentally taxing, something like that. You have to really kind of freaking concentrate, then might be lighter weights an option. Now, interesting point is at the time of recording this podcast, which is on Sunday, the 8th of March, 2020, is I'm running currently on 3 hours worth of sleep. And I went to the gym this morning and I trained heavy because that's the way I like to train. That's the way I always train. And I found that I was able to have a perfectly good workout. However, The other point is what I'm going to come on to next is reconsider the goal of the workout. Now, I reconsidered the goal of the workout I did this morning because of the fact that I was tired. So I didn't necessarily change what I was doing, i.e., whether I was lifting light or heavy or anything like that. I didn't even change the exercises that I was doing. I did change my expectations of what I was going to get out of that workout. I didn't think that I was going to break PBs. I didn't think that I was going to achieve a load of progressive overload. I didn't think that I was going to add more weight to the bar or pick up a heavier set of dumbbells. All I did is I'm just going to go in and I'm going to pick the exercises that I chose. I think I did 4 or 5 exercises, a few working sets per exercise, and I'm just going to push myself hard in this session as much as I can, knowing that it's going to be subpar to as if I'd had a full night's sleep. So again, you set the expectations of that workout. Whether you pick the light weights or the heavier weights, yeah, it kind of doesn't really matter. Maybe like lighter weights, maybe slightly better. You may get, you may feel better with those. Might be more psychologically a little bit easier. I don't know. But again, it's setting that expectation. It's not expecting you to maybe perform as you would, but you're trying to get as much out of that workout as possible. So you're pushing yourself hard. You're pushing yourself to what you feel like is maybe you're not going all the way to failure, but maybe you're getting close to it. And that kind of process of really pushing yourself in that gym, but with knowing that whatever I do in this session is absolutely fine. Just getting the session in is the important thing right now. Having that expectation is really, really key. Otherwise, you might beat yourself up about this process of not being able to perform to your best. You might think it's a shit workout. You might leave feeling a little bit demotivated, depressed, etc., etc., etc. So what I do is I reset that expectation. Now I feel accomplished because even in my tired state, I really fucking didn't want to go to the gym. I sat in my gym gear, in my fucking chair. I could have sat there and watched Netflix all fucking day quite fucking happily. But I knew that, okay, getting moving, getting a workout in is probably going to make me feel better than sitting at home doing nothing. I think that if I'd have felt really fucking tired, really super tired, then I probably would have just had a fucking nap or some shit and not gone to the gym. But I felt okay. I didn't feel like I was going to fall asleep at any moment. I felt like I could have a workout if I got off my ass and I went and did it. So again, you set that expectation. Now, while I'm recording this podcast, I feel quite accomplished. I feel like, yeah, fucking hell, I'm glad I went and did that fucking workout. That was pretty fucking cool. So the other thing to do is, again, what I've got to do myself is reflect. Think on what is it that is making you tired. Now, obviously, if you've got things like work stresses and you just can't kind of get out of that for a short period of time, if you've got young kids, again, you just got to roll with the punches and kind of do the best you can with the sleep that you have. But you could be someone who is always waking up tired, but actually there's some things within your control that you could actually, manipulate, adjust so that you could optimize those things. For me, I've got no excuses. I've got no reason why I should not get a good night's sleep. So therefore, I've got to do this reflective process on myself. Now, one extra episode of that Netflix box set you really want to finish, was that worth it? Is it a case that you're trying to train too much? You're making yourself like freaking really overtraining to the point at which it's compromising your recovery, it's compromising your sleep. All these various different things can play a part. Maybe your nutrition is off. Maybe it's a case that you're not optimizing calories, that may be too low. Maybe your carbs are too low and you've not got the energy to train. Maybe it's protein. Maybe it's the fact that you're not actually recovering from the previous training session. So maybe it's not like a lack of sleep tiredness. Maybe it's just like an aching body, aching muscle, fuck me, this is difficult kind of tiredness, that kind of just general systemic fatigue that could be setting in because you're not recovering properly. Again, look at all these various different things. So review how you're managing your body, how you're managing your nutrition, and how you're managing your lifestyle, and adjust those things accordingly. Don't keep putting yourself in that position of being tired and having to reflect, right, should I do light weights or heavy weights? If you have control over these various different factors, then take control of them, make them a priority, and change them. So ultimately, if you are in a situation where you are, should I train with lighter weights or heavier weights when I'm tired? Maybe you're asking the wrong question. Again, there will be certain situations, certain circumstances where you can't change these things. But for a lot of people, they will be in your control. So it might be a case of, okay, should I train light or heavy? Maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe it's, how do I optimize my sleep? Why is it I'm getting tired? How do I change these things so I'm not tired every morning? What do I need to change about my sleep routine, about how I manage my sleep hygiene, my lifestyle, things like that, to optimize these various different things, and then make decisions that put you in the best possible position to get the most out of your training. That's where I would start. But if you were to ask me, should you train light or heavy? I would kind of say, do whatever feels best, but set your expectations to the workout that you're doing. If you want to stay doing heavy, maybe you want to kind of cut back on the intensity, don't push yourself closer to failure and stuff like that. You're probably not going to get the most out of that session. Use it as just a session to move, feel good and things like that. Do what's going to make you feel happy. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Like I said at the beginning, there's some free stuff you can download, whether you want to get access to a calorie calculator, calorie guide, you've got free training programs in there, a guide on how to control your cravings is in there, loads of stuff in there. If you want to get your hands on that, click the link in the show notes. You can also find out about the Lean Life Method, which is my one-to-one online coaching program. All the information is there about that as well. But for now, all I'm going to say is thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Keep living the lean life, and I'll see you for the next episode of the show.